The Battle of Britain, the Airmen who stood firm. The summer of 1940 was one of anticipation, fear, and defiance. As Europe fell under the shadow of Nazi occupation, the United Kingdom stood alone in its resistance against Adolf Hitler's war machine. After the fall of France in June 1940, the threat of invasion loomed ever larger. But before the German army could step foot on British soil, Adolf Hitler knew that the skies above Britain had to be cleared of any opposition. Thus began the Battle of Britain, a fierce and decisive air campaign that would not only determine the fate of Britain, but change the course of history. The Airmen. Ordinary men, extraordinary heroes. The airmen who flew into battle were often just ordinary men, drawn from every walk of life. There were farmers, students, shopkeepers, and even a few ex-cab drivers, all of whom had one thing in common: the determination to defend their homeland. These men, many of them in their early 20s, climbed into their aircraft, some of the finest the world had ever seen, such as the Supermarine Spitfire and the Hawker Hurricane, and took to the skies with a singular purpose: to stop the Luftwaffe from gaining control of Britain's airspace. One of the youngest pilots was Flying Officer Jeffrey Wellham, who had just turned 18 when he joined the RAF. He recalled the rush of adrenaline he felt in those early days of the battle. The Spitfire was everything I dreamed of. It was fast, agile, and responsive. But when the first dogfight started, I quickly realized that the enemy wasn't just a shadow on the horizon. They were real, and they were trying to kill us. For many of these young pilots, the battle was not just about defending Britain, it was about survival. They would take off from airfields with the knowledge that only a small percentage of them would return unscathed. But despite the odds, they pressed on. Sergeant George Onwin, who was only 19 when he joined the RAF, said in his memoirs, "I remember the first time I went up in combat. There was a strange calmness to it. I think it was the realization that this was real, and the only way to survive was to stay focused and do your job. It didn't matter how young or old you were, we were all in it together." The tactics, strategy, and coordination in the sky. The first phase of the Battle of Britain focused heavily on attacking RAF airfields and radar stations. The Luftwaffe believed that by knocking out these key targets, they could cripple the RAF's ability to mount a defense. The RAF pilots, led by Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding, had other plans. Dowding, who had long recognized the importance of radar in modern warfare, had placed a network of early warning radar stations along Britain's coast, an innovation that would become the backbone of the RAF's defense strategy. Dowding's plan was simple but effective. Keep the Luftwaffe at bay with carefully coordinated fighter patrols and defend the airfields at all costs. Squadron leader Douglas Bader, one of the most famous RAF pilots of the battle, remembered the first time he came into contact with the German bombers. "I could see the enemy bombers coming in from the north. We had to move fast. I barked orders to my squadron, and we were up in the air within minutes. It was a whirlwind of action. I remember the rush of the first shot, and then the joy of seeing them go down." But while the RAF fought bravely in the skies, the Luftwaffe's air crews were highly skilled and well-trained. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighters were among the best of their time, and the Luftwaffe bombers, such as the Heinkel He-111, were formidable opponents. The British pilots knew that they had to be fast and decisive if they were to have any hope of success. It was during the fierce dogfights above the English Channel that the RAF pilots earned their reputation as the few. For every British pilot lost, there was another ready to take his place. Squadron leader Richard Hillary, a young Australian pilot who would go on to become one of the battle's most famous figures, spoke of the camaraderie in the air. In combat, you had to be sharp. You had to think quickly, but you couldn't do it alone. It was all about teamwork, covering each other's backs. We were all in it together. The Blitz, a shift in strategy. As the battle continued into August and September, the Luftwaffe changed tactics. No longer focused solely on military targets, the Germans began bombing Britain's cities, including London, in an attempt to break civilian morale. This shift in strategy marked the beginning of what would become known as the Blitz, a relentless bombing campaign designed to instill fear and weaken Britain's resolve. The Blitz changed everything for the British people. Ethel Harris, a Londoner who survived the bombing raids, described the experience. The night skies would light up, and we would hear the bombers in the distance. We knew what was coming, and we had to find shelter fast. But even though we were scared, we never stopped. The next morning, we'd get up, clean up the rubble, and go back to work. We weren't going to let them win. The British people were subjected to nightly bombings. Buildings were destroyed, lives were lost, but the spirit of defiance never wavered. As Winston Churchill said during one of his speeches, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." Churchill's words resonated deeply with the British public, providing a sense of purpose during those dark days. The RAF's resilience. Men against machines. The RAF pilots fought on, even as their numbers dwindled. The casualty rate among the pilots was high, and by October 1940, the air crews were physically and emotionally exhausted. Yet, they carried on, knowing that Britain's survival depended on them. One of the most poignant accounts comes from Squadron Leader Bob Stanford Tuck, who remembered the toll the battle took on his squadron. "There were days when we lost friends, and there were days when we were the ones who didn't come back." It's difficult to explain the feeling of flying back after a mission, knowing that your mate wasn't with you. But we couldn't stop. We had a job to do, and we did it. As the autumn days turned colder, the Luftwaffe's efforts began to falter. They had failed to destroy the RAF and were losing too many aircraft. The Battle of Britain had been won, and Britain had, against all odds, managed to defend its skies. The victory was a turning point in the war, a victory that proved that Nazi Germany could be beaten. A nation's gratitude. As the battle came to an end in late October 1940, the British people celebrated their hard-won victory. The RAF pilots, those who had survived and those who had given their lives, were hailed as national heroes. The sense of national pride and relief was palpable. However, the airmen were not concerned with accolades or praise. Sergeant George Onwin recalled in a later interview, "We didn't think of ourselves as heroes. We were just doing what needed to be done. What mattered most was that we kept Britain in the fight. The war wasn't over, but we had given our country a chance." In the years that followed, the survivors of the Battle of Britain would be remembered as the heroes who saved Britain from invasion. Memorials were erected, books and films were made, and their stories were passed down through generations. But what is often forgotten is the emotional and psychological toll the battle took on these men. Many of the pilots returned home only to struggle with the memories of the skies, the loss of friends, and the knowledge that they had fought a battle few could truly understand. The Battle of Britain was not just a military victory. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity, the bravery of those who fought, and the resilience of the civilians who supported them stands as one of the most remarkable chapters in the history of warfare. In the end, the skies above Britain remained free, and the fight against tyranny continued. The battle was over, but the war was far from won, and the legacy of those who fought in the Battle of Britain would live on forever. Polyspeaks for You incorporates voice control features that allow users to perform essential actions like opening, saving, and creating new documents, as well as interacting with font and document editing dialogues. This is particularly helpful for individuals with disabilities, enabling hands-free operation and more accessible content management. Below are some of the voice control functionalities designed for ease of use. 1. Voice-commanded document handling. A open document. Users can say commands like open document, followed by the file name or location, and Poly will open the document for them. Save document. Commands like save document as or save allow the user to save their work without needing to manually click on buttons. Poly can also handle saving with specific file names or locations as dictated. A new document. A simple voice command such as create new document or start new file will initiate a fresh document in the app. A closed document. Commands like close document or exit can be used to close the current document. 2. Font dialog voice controls. Font style. Users can control font settings by saying change font to Arial or set font at Times New Roman. This would change the selected text's font style. A font size. Commands like increase font size or decrease font size adjust the text size according to user preferences. A font color. users can use commands such as set font color to red or change font to blue to personalize the text color. 3. Voice-commanded document editing. A text formatting. Commands like bold text, italicized text, underline text, or strikeout text allow users to edit their document easily. For example, saying bold this text will apply bold formatting to the selected text. Alignment. Users can command alignment changes by saying align left, align center, or align right. A text insertion. A user can say insert text, and the software will insert the given text at the current cursor position. A text navigation. Commands such as go to the top, scroll down, or move to the next paragraph enable users to navigate the document without the need for a mouse or keyboard. 4. Voice-activated help and assistance. Help commands. Users can ask questions like, "What can I do?" or "Help me with saving" to receive guidance on specific tasks. Poly can offer step-by-step instructions based on voice queries. A undo/redo. Voice commands such as undo or redo let users correct mistakes or revert to previous actions in their document. 5. Advanced features for accessibility. Speech recognition training. For improved accuracy, Poly can guide users through the Windows speech recognition training process, adapting to their voice patterns and improving dictation accuracy. A text-to-speech for editing. Users can have text read aloud to them while editing, making it easier to spot errors and refine their documents. These voice-controlled features make Poly Speaks for You an accessible tool for individuals with disabilities, particularly those with visual impairments, mobility issues, or other conditions that limit their ability to use traditional input devices. The hands-free operation helps users maintain independence and improve their document management and editing experience. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to stay updated with more content. The creator of Poly Speaks for You has always been driven by a passion for giving a voice to those who need it most. Whether it's through text-to-speech technology or voice recognition, the goal has always been to create tools that help individuals, especially those with disabilities or learning challenges, communicate and interact with the world in a way that is meaningful and empowering. The stories shared, such as those about the sailors aboard the HMS Victory, are not just about reliving history, they are about the power of voice. Through Poly Speaks for You, the creator saw an opportunity to use storytelling as a medium to convey courage, strength, and resilience, much like the sailors of the past. These stories are intended to inspire and engage users, reminding them of the importance of their voices, both literally and metaphorically. The idea behind these stories is to showcase how technology, particularly speech technology, can be a tool for preserving history, while also empowering users with the capability to share their own narratives. By blending history with technology, the creator of Poly Speaks for You aims to demonstrate how powerful a voice can be in shaping and sharing our world, past and present. In a sense, these stories represent more than just entertainment. They are a way for the creator to give a voice to history, to connect with users in a deeply human way, and to remind them that their voices matter, whether they are telling their own stories or those of others. The creator's work in developing Poly Speaks for You is never just about making a functional tool. It was about making sure that every voice had the power to be heard. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to stay updated with more content. This content has been adapted from the powerful features of Poly Speaks for You, South Africa's leading accessibility software. Learn more at www.polyspeaksforyou.co.za. We invite you to support this meaningful dyslexic initiative, crafted and developed by an individual who personally understands the challenges of dyslexia.